The silence in Daniel Carter's apartment was louder than any noise he remembered. It wrapped around him every night. Creeping into corners he tried not to look at, empty chairs, untouched mugs, a life paused in mid-breath. At 36, Daniel had everything people admired: a stable job in Chicago, a clean apartment, respect at work. Yet love was the one thing he refused to touch. Not because he didn't want it, but because he had lost it once. And the loss had nearly broken him. 2 years ago, he had buried his fiancée after a sudden illness. Since then, relationships felt like promises waiting to be shattered. He told himself he wasn't ready. He told others the same. And most days, he believed it. Daniel spent his evenings walking the same route after work, hands in his pockets, eyes avoiding faces that looked too hopeful. One rainy Thursday, he ducked into a small diner to escape the cold. The place smelled like coffee and old memories. He ordered his usual, black coffee, no sugar, and sat by the window. That's when he noticed the boy. The child couldn't have been more than 6. He sat alone at a corner table, feet swinging, hands folded neatly as if he'd been taught to behave in spaces that didn't really want him. His jacket was too thin for the weather, his sneakers worn at the toes. The waitress approached him gently. "Sweetheart, are you waiting for someone?" she asked. The boy nodded. "My mom. She's at work. She said I could stay here till she finishes." Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. He tried to look away, but the boy's eyes met his. They were steady, observant, far too old for such a small face. Minutes passed. The boy's stomach growled loudly enough that Daniel heard it from across the room. The child pressed his lips together, embarrassed, pretending it hadn't happened. Without fully thinking, Daniel stood up. He walked to the boy's table and hesitated. "Hey," he said softly. "Mind if I sit here?" The boy studied him for a moment, then shrugged. "Okay." Daniel signaled the waitress. "Can we get him a grilled cheese and soup?" Then, after a pause, "And a milk." The boy's eyes widened. "For me." Daniel nodded. "Yeah, everyone deserves dinner." The child smiled, small, cautious, but real. "I'm Noah." "Daniel," he replied. They ate mostly in silence, but it wasn't awkward. Noah talked about school, about how his mom worked late cleaning offices, about how he wanted to be a firefighter or maybe a dad when he grew up. That word, dad, hit Daniel harder than he expected. When Noah's mother finally arrived, breathless and apologetic, she thanked Daniel with tears in her eyes. Daniel waved it off, saying it was nothing. But as he walked home that night, something felt different. For the first time in years, the silence in his apartment didn't feel quite as heavy. Daniel tried to forget Noah. He told himself it was just a moment, one kind act, one shared meal. But the image of the boy sitting alone in that diner followed him everywhere. At work, at home, even in his dreams. Something about Noah's quiet strength had cracked open a door Daniel had spent years sealing shut. A week later, Daniel took the same walk after work. He told himself it was habit. Coincidence. Yet, his feet carried him straight to the diner. Noah was there again. This time, he sat at the same table, drawing on a napkin with a dull pencil. When he saw Daniel, his face lit up instantly. "You came back," Noah said. Daniel smiled before he realized he was doing it. "Looks like it." They talked more this time. Noah told him about school bullies, about how kids laughed at his old backpack. Daniel listened, not trying to fix anything, just listening. He hadn't realized how much he'd missed that simple human connection. Soon, seeing Noah became part of Daniel's routine. Sometimes Noah's mother, Emily, joined them. She was tired, kind-eyed, grateful in ways that made Daniel uncomfortable. He didn't want gratitude. He just wanted to be there. Emily explained her situation one evening. No family nearby. 2 jobs, doing her best. Daniel recognized the exhaustion in her voice. It mirrored something inside him. One night, as they were leaving, Noah tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Do you have a dad?" Noah asked. Daniel swallowed. "I did. He passed away." Noah nodded slowly. "I don't have one." The words were simple, but they landed like a weight on Daniel's heart. Over the following months, Daniel helped in small ways, rides to school when Emily worked early, homework help, fixing a broken shelf in their apartment. He told himself he was just being kind. Nothing more. But kindness has a way of growing roots. One evening, Emily hesitated at her door. "Daniel, I don't know how to thank you." He shook his head. "You don't have to." She looked at him carefully. "You're good with Noah. He trusts you." Daniel felt fear rise in his chest. Trust meant responsibility, attachment, loss. "I'm not ready for anything," he said quickly. Emily nodded, understanding more than he'd said. "I know." That night, Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. He wasn't just helping anymore. He cared. The call came on a cold winter morning. Daniel was halfway to work when his phone rang. Emily's voice was shaking. She'd been in an accident, nothing life-threatening. But she'd need surgery and weeks of recovery. There was no one else. "Can you keep Noah for a while?" She asked quietly. "Just until I'm better." Daniel's first instinct was panic. He wasn't ready. He didn't know how to be responsible for a child. He hadn't planned for this. But then he remembered Noah's smile. His quiet bravery. The way he looked at Daniel like he mattered. "Yes," Daniel said. "Of course." Those weeks changed everything. Mornings were chaos, burnt toast, mismatched socks, missed buses. Nights were homework battles and bedtime stories Daniel read too slowly. He was exhausted, overwhelmed, and completely unprepared. Yet, for the first time in years, his apartment felt alive. One night, Noah had a nightmare. He ran into Daniel's room, shaking. "Don't leave," he whispered. Daniel pulled him close. "I'm here." And he meant it. When Emily recovered, she thanked Daniel through tears. She tried to take everything back to normal, but something had shifted. Noah clung to Daniel's hand, fear in his eyes. "Do I have to stop coming?" Noah asked. Daniel's chest tightened. He realized the truth then. He wasn't afraid of love anymore. He was afraid of losing it again. But some things are worth the risk. Spring arrived quietly, just like the decision Daniel had been avoiding. He sat across from Emily in the diner where it had all begun. Noah colored between them, humming softly. "I've been thinking," Daniel said, voice steady despite the storm inside him. "I don't want to disappear from his life." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Neither do we." Months later, Daniel stood in a courtroom, heart pounding. Noah squeezed his hand. The judge smiled. "Do you understand the responsibility you're taking on?" Daniel looked down at Noah, then back up. "I do." When it was over, Noah threw his arms around him. "You're my dad now," he said proudly. Daniel held him tightly, tears falling freely. He hadn't been ready for love. But love had found him anyway. And this time, he didn't run.